This special shark-themed episode is not for the timid, as we discuss human frailties and how the sharpness of shapes we see around us might evoke certain emotions or feelings, possibly even affecting our decisions. This is Shadûf.
Welcome to Shadûf, the place where business, research, and entertainment make a baby in your mind. We will show you common trends you'll want to leave behind. It happens all the time. We'll always bring a fresh perspective, so you can trust the data or the data, but not the feces you've been fed. Welcome to Shadûf. It's time to stop the song and start the show.
You know the thing about sharks? They've got lifeless eyes, black eyes like a doll's eyes. And they come at you. Can't even tell they're living until they bite you. Happy Shark Week, everyone. We thought we'd open with a little quote from Jaws. Lauren, have you seen Jaws?
Wow, thanks for asking, Weston, because no, I have not seen Jaws. Let's add that to the list. Lord
address
of the Rings,
this right
Jaws.
away.
What a surprise. This is like a common opening to our episodes, right?
That's right. I just thought we'd keep in line. Not throwing shade, but you do need to see Jaws. It's one of the greatest movies of all time.
I feel like a little bit of shade was
No
thrown, but
no
it's
shade.
okay.
No shade whatsoever, Lauren. But speaking of sharks, Lauren, you do have some shark facts for us for Shark Week.
Shark Week, ooh ha ha. I just had to do that.
Oh, I love Shark Week so much. So yeah, I do have a couple of fun facts for
tell
us.
us some fun facts, Lauren.
So first one of our fun facts is, did you guys know that there's over 500 species of sharks?
That's crazy.
500?
I thought there would be a lot, but I wouldn't have guessed 500.
Right? It seems like a lot more than you would actually think.
Yeah.
Ah, shoot. Drinking this sparkling water, and I'm like, this tastes expired. And sure enough, it's expired. So, yeah, I got through half the can.
Oh, no.
I'm so sorry. Let's get 500 species of shark.
Yep,
You're
exactly.
kidding me.
It's a lot. So the second fun fact I have for you guys is, did you know that some sharks are live birthing, but some lay little baby shark eggs?
That's crazy. I guess I never really thought about sharks, how they were born, but it is also weird to think of shark eggs. Like, I've never oh yeah, a shark egg. What's the third shark fact, Lauren?
Our third shark fact is that whale sharks are the cutest sharks. They really are. They're cute little spots. They're like wide mouths and stuff like that, and they just kind of like swim through. They're really cute. They're not scary looking either.
We're looking at stuffed animals of whale sharks, stuffed whale sharks.
Right before this, you were in the process of buying a stuffed animal whale shark, right?
Yeah, I also said that if they had one at Build-A-Bear, I would go.
Build-A-Bear whale shark edition.
They should do it for Shark Week.
Yeah.
I
They
don't
totally
see
should
why
have.
not.
Oh, they should. So this pertains to what we're talking about today. This is good. So just, audience, stay with us here.
So what are the qualities of a stuffed animal that you would find valuable?
Well,
Soft, cuddly.
Soft, cuddly, right?
Yeah, just you want to hold it.
So you want
Comforting.
An animal that also matches those qualities, right?
Yeah.
Softness and
For
roundness
sure.
and cuteness, right?
But if someone's making a cartoonized version of a shark to make it soft and cuddly, they can make a cute shark. Round the teeth.
Round them a little bit so
Yeah,
they're
just
not
make
so
them
angular.
Fun little wavy teeth. Now, to get into our discussion today about the research that pertains to this is, I guess as humans, we've been biologically conditioned to feel wary of sharpness. Even jagged rocks are a threat to us, to all of humans throughout all of history. Generally, predators in the animal kingdom have sharp, jagged teeth or claws.
Coffee table corners.
Oh.
Big time, big warning.
I ran my leg into one the other day at my apartment, and I have a really big bruise from it. That's the worst.
But we are conditioned, even just seeing a picture of an angular object, when we see that, and in our mind, we kind of picture what it would feel like.
Right.
So you could take a logo or even draw a triangle on the whiteboard. Our minds just will sometimes automatically just picture what it would feel like.
Right.
And so even with a shape that would cause no harm, we get those same type of feelings from it.
Exactly.
This aggression or threatening feeling,
Yeah, we kind of assign it an emotion. I mean, from my design experience, if you use circles or curvy lines, that represents more of like a friendly nature because of what people feel when they see it, right? Or if you're, if something's a little more action-oriented or they want to convey even precision, perhaps, is another thing. Like the Mitsubishi logo or Pontiac logo, they have very angular, sharp corners and things like that.
Well, it makes me think of like traffic signs, like, the angles on like a stop sign or like a yield sign and everything. It has those, sharp edges and stuff like that, just the angles and everything.
So it gets our attention, right? And so maybe that's good, but then what emotion is it evoking from people who see it?
Yeah, so different companies have looked at, along what you were saying, Weston, on how different angularity within a logo can affect your perceptions of that company. And one article that was published in the Journal of Consumer Research titled, "Does Your Company Have the Right Logo? How and Why Circular and Angular Logo Shapes Influence Brand Attribute Judgments."
Okay.
Looks at kind of like what you were saying, Weston. Just because it's angular doesn't mean it's negative. The angularity of your logo needs to match the message behind your
what you
company.
want people to feel about your company, right?
Yeah. So, for instance, if you're making a shoe and you want to get across in your messaging that it's a durable shoe, you want that logo to be angular because it has this perception of hardness,
Of strength, of good structure, kind of thing.
Functionality.
Right.
Yeah, whereas if you're looking, at a shoe and they want to be seen as more like comfortable, they want their logo to be more rounded, giving kind of those emotions of
Soft.
comfort and soft and kind of like the whale shark.
Like the whale shark compared to a great white or a goblin shark.
Yeah, Goblin Shark, the most terrifying of all sharks.
It looks freaky weird.
Seriously, look it up if you are unfamiliar with the Goblin Shark. But this is a cool study that they actually demonstrate that what goes on is it's not just you seeing it,
Right.
Seeing the logo, but it's you visualizing in your mind what it feels like, what it would feel like if you touched it.
Right.
And if you can block somebody's ability to get in that frame of mind, angularity of the logo has no effect, right? So they kind of demonstrate that way that that's actually what's going on there.
Okay, cool.
And then what's really cool is they also look at how angularity of shapes affect behavior, how they can change maybe the decisions that customers make. Actually.
Okay. So this is getting interesting. So like it gives them a feeling that sticks with them and affects their choices.
Yeah, so it can affect your choices and decisions. So there's another article in Social Cognition titled "How Shapes Influence Social Judgments" that look at exactly how the title "How Shapes Influence Your Social Judgments." But that's a good title there. You know exactly what this article is about. But they do a cool thing where they have participants come in a room and they play a game. And in this game, you can either take a collaborative approach where you kind of work with the person across the table from you, or you take more of a competitive approach where you end up like working against them.
Wait, so you can choose what you do?
You can choose,
Yes.
yeah. You can take either approach.
Okay.
And what they did was they lined the walls in the room with different shapes. And some of the time they're more rounded shapes, and some of the time they're more angular shapes.
Really?
And they found that being in the presence of angular shapes, the participants were more likely to take those competitive approaches.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it was also cool because in that same article, they had done another study with participants putting together puzzles. And the puzzle was like an image of a person. And
Okay.
some of the puzzles had angular pieces and the other had rounded pieces. And they
Okay.
asked them, like what judgments they made about the person after they put the puzzle together and everything.
So after it was all assembled, then you'd make snap judgments
Yeah.
about the person
Yep.
whose image you put together.
Exactly, yeah. And so those with the angular shapes, they saw it was perceived as being more like aggressive and less warm.
Wait, that's how they perceived the
The
person
person
to be.
Yeah.
If they perceived,
Not that's how they judged them.
Yeah, they perceived the
Okay.
person to be more aggressive and less warm if they were made out of the angular shaped puzzle pieces.
Wow. Maybe this is a future study, but I wonder if that can affect like styles of fashion of what you wear or what,
Oh yeah,
how
for sure.
how the cut of your shirt or
For sure, like
your
pattern
jackets or whatever.
or like patterns on
patterns.
your shirt, right?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it totally would. Totally would.
Oh my gosh.
So cool things. You could take that into account with website designs, things
Right.
like that. Like, what do you want your company to be perceived as, and make sure that, of course, that the shapes that you have there match that perception.
Right. Like if you're a sports company or something, maybe you do want people to feel like, oh man, I'm competitive. I'm, driven.
Driven. Yeah.
Yeah. Ambitious. I like that. Yeah. Maybe it works for you, but it has to, like you said, it has to match what you want.
I especially early on in my PhD, there was a period of time where I was really fascinated with shapes and how they impacted behavior and perceptions. And I had this crazy idea.
Okay.
What was it?
So I had this data set that were customer complaint emails, right?
Okay.
And I was just trying to think of, okay, what's some cool things that we could do with this data set? And I was in the midst of this shape research and looking at different things. And I thought, wait a second. So we know how shapes affect behavior and perceptions, but do we, like, as consumers, use shapes at all when we in our communications with others, particularly when we're typing things out or writing things? Do we use shapes to communicate certain feelings? And so what I thought was, for instance, as you're angry and writing a complaint, if the angrier you are words that have sharper letters, like an A or a V or a W, are they more likely to come to your mind during that time? And so
words that are composed of sharper letters.
Yeah, and so
if you're feeling more combative.
if more aggressive,
Yeah.
and so then could you calculate like the average sharpness of the letters used in a text to kind of use that as a measure of anger that was felt?
Well, yeah, and I know they've done research on the sharpness of how a word sounds, like how curt can convey sort of an emotion. But when you're typing, you're not speaking it phonically. I mean, you are a little bit in your head, I guess, but also are you calling back, when you first learned like the basic shape of a letter?
Yeah. So there are two data sets that I had that I kind of tested this theory on. And I still kind of working on the underlying what's going on behind the scenes of this effect, right?
Right.
But the first data set was just consumer reviews of a product. So, how we normally do reviews, we write the review and we give the product a rating, right? So first of all, one of the things I had to think through was, okay, how do we calculate the average sharpness of the letters? So we had participants rate each letter of the alphabet, capitalized and lowercase, to kind of rate them on how sharp they thought each letter was.
So you give the capital letter and the lowercase letter separate, and you give them scores. You give them all scores.
Yeah, the participants rated them all, and we use
Okay.
that to calculate the perceived average like sharpness of each letter. So each one had a sharpness score.
Gotcha.
And so went through and wrote a program that would replace all the letters with sharpness calculations and calculate the average sharpness of all the complaints, and found what I hypothesized, that as the sharper the letters used, the lower ratings the customer gave the product.
Really?
So, yeah. And this was a cool one too. So there's another rating that a lot of product reviews have where other people rate the usefulness of your review, right? So each review has like a score for how useful people thought it was.
Okay.
So reviews with sharper letters, do you think they were seen as more useful or less useful?
Wow. I feel like they would probably be seen as more useful
Oh, really?
by
Why?
people. Well, just because I know when I look at reviews, the ones that are sharper, more aggressive in general, are just like kind of pointing out some of the like flaws and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
I find those really useful
Like they're being
because they're being more honest about it. It's not just you're seeing a bunch of like positive ones. So I find some of the negative reviews really helpful because it like kind of shows you the possible
I
downside.
feel like
Interesting.
sometimes there's like a balance, right?
Yeah.
Like if they're way overly negative, I don't trust them.
Right.
Like some students that I have that might be upset about, one little aspect of the course, and so the whole course is horrible.
Right.
And I feel
Yeah.
like customers get like that sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
There was this one issue that I had with the shipping, and so the product as a whole
Right.
stinks, right?
Yeah. I mean, personally, I just kind of average the bad ones in
Yeah,
with the really
average the
good
bad
ones
ones,
and
yeah.
stuff. But yeah, I see what you're saying and
But
everything.
Maybe
Grain
they
of
draw
salt.
more attention or something. Like,
Yeah.
man, if someone sounds angry, you're like, okay, what happened to this person to make them so cheesed off that they're going to
Who hurt you?
hurt you?
So, but in that data, the sharper the letters used, the less useful customers saw the other
Oh,
people
okay.
perceived the review to be.
Man, that's so weird. I was kind of waiting because I kind of see it as Lauren would too, a little bit. I'd probably go on that side more, but that's interesting. So people didn't find those credible or useful.
Right.
And, wow.
Right.
That's cool.
So
interesting.
I'm not exactly sure as of right now if the sharpness is really like anger, but
Right.
but sharpness as a
There's-
whole of letters significantly dropped the usefuless of the review.
There's some effect there.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
cool.
something happening.
Right.
Yeah.
So that could lead to some other cool research. That's
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
So
way cool.
so here's
Not what I thought.
here's a contrast though. The other data set was an interesting contrast. Okay.
Okay.
So in the first setting, customers are writing these reviews and giving a product rating at the same time.
Okay.
Right. But would you think that it would change at all if the customers, for instance, I had this data set where it was email complaints to an actual company.
Okay.
And then I had data that showed the likelihood, whether or not just the likelihood, whether or not those customers had future purchases. So they write the complaint email, and then afterward, do they purchase or not? How much do they purchase? Things like that. So at first, I wouldn't have anticipated a difference there.
Yeah.
I would have thought they would kind of be the same.
Yeah.
But there's some cool research that was published in the Journal of Marketing. This one, titled The Benefit of Becoming Friends, complaining after service failures leads customers with strong ties to increased loyalty. So it kind of shows that being able to complain, especially when you have like kind of strong ties to this company,
Yeah.
being able to complain and get that email out there is like cathartic. Like it feels good, and they release that anger, and they're actually more likely to return or willing to pay more for products after being able to issue that complaint.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, so companies, which is cool, like in and of itself, right? Like,
Right.
like you want your customers, especially the ones with strong ties, you want them to complain. You want to get that out there because it increases that loyalty afterward,
Yeah.
which is really cool. But taking that into account, if this letter sharpness is like really a proxy for anger, so if it is a proxy for anger,
Okay.
the sharper the letters, the more anger you're releasing,
Okay.
and therefore the more loyal you're going to be to the company afterwards.
It's releasing your endorphins or something. Something's
Yeah,
happened
yeah.
on a psychological level that you're just like, wow, that feels great.
So did they look at anything else besides how much they would purchase afterwards? Did they like look at anything in the study about like word of mouth, like recommending it to friends or anything after like they complained or anything like that? Because that would be interesting to see.
Yeah, they didn't look at that.
But this has ties, like this could even have ties to like engagement on social media.
Yeah. I mean, I think that if a customer is going to complain, getting them to do it in email is nice because then it's not like public.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
That is
They
fascinating.
remain loyal. It makes me think of, this is like a random story, but
Okay.
in my days of being a car salesman, I remember this one customer, she came onto the lot, and this was like the most awful experience that I had with a customer. She was just like very aggressive the whole time, accusing me of lying, not happy with the price, like just it was awful.
Yikes.
But somehow we sold her a car.
Okay.
And then I think it was like a week or two later, I approached another customer and asked her how she came to know about us. And she said, "Oh, my neighbor just recommended you very, very highly. She talked about how honest you were, how you gave her an amazing price and all these things." And it was this customer
individual
that I had that horrible experience with.
Of course.
And so like, you know, I don't know how well that ties, but that ties to your word of mouth question a
Yeah.
little bit, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like maybe she was just kind of pulling one on me to try to get like the best deal possible, like purposely being, but maybe she actually let out some aggression and really had strong loyalty to us afterward. I don't know.
That's amazing.
But yeah, so what's cool is I pulled that data, did the same type of analysis, and that became evident in this data as well. And so the sharper the letters used in that complaint email, the more likely the customers were to return to the company and be more loyal. So
That's so funny.
That's fascinating. Shapes are
Right?
fascinating, and it's fascinating how we respond to different shapes and may have a connection with sharks than our own fragility when it comes to our mortal frames. Something to think about, right?
Something to think about.
chew on.
But seriously, like think about these things as you're looking at logo designs or, as you said, like web pages.
Your dress and
And-
appearance.
Maybe the fonts you use.
Right.
Comic Sans, R.I.P.
Seriously, no. That's the one anomaly. Comic Sans is the very rounded, friendly font that you just hate. Well, that'll be it for this week. I hope all of you have a fantastic Shark Week, and join us next time on the Shadûf podcast. Shadûf is sponsored by the Woodbury School of Business. We love any and all forms of online engagement. We are present on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook, so like, follow, subscribe, or leave us a review on Apple Podcast. If you have any questions or input about the studies we run, or if you have any interesting ideas for possible research, email us at info@shaduf.org. That's info@shaduf.org.